Welcome back, guys. I hope you're having a beautiful day today, and I hope you're ready for a whole bunch of horrifying Reddit stories. It's going to be a fun episode, and I know it's going to be a fun episode because I've already filmed it. I don't know how I forget to do intros, but I forgot to do an intro. So yeah, I've seen the stuff that you're about to see, and it's unbelievable. Let me know down below in the comments how you go with the episode, and enjoy, guys. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother and his wife out of my house after they demanded that I change my baby's name? My husband, 34 male, and I, 32 female, just had our first baby, a beautiful little girl. We named her Lena after my late mother who passed away a few years ago. The name has deep meaning for us and it felt perfect. My older brother, 37 male, and his wife, 35 female, came over to meet the baby for the first time. As soon as they heard her name, my sister-in-law's face dropped. She said Lena was the name that she'd always planned to use for her future daughter. They don't have kids yet, and accused us of stealing the name. At first I thought she was joking, but she kept on going, saying that we were selfish and we ruined the name for her. My brother backed her up and suggested that we considered changing it since they called dibs years ago. I lost it and I told them they were being ridiculous and disrespectful, especially since the name honors my mum. When they wouldn't drop it, I asked them to leave. Now they're telling our family that I'm heartless and I stole their dream name, while I overreacted by kicking them out. Am I the a-hole? Right, okay, but when did they call dibs on the name? OP even said that they don't have kids, and also they're not pregnant, I don't think. So did you know that they had dibs on the name? By the sounds of it, you didn't steal it. The top comment says, so she isn't pregnant yet and is calling dibs on a name. Number 1, no guarantee she'll even have kids. Number 2, no guarantee that she'll have girls. Also, last time I checked, she was your mum too, not the a-hole. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, oh, this name means so much to me. Yeah, it also means a lot to OP. And they didn't steal it. The second top comment says, I swear to God, we're getting stupider as a species. Number 1, no one can call dibs on a name. Number 2, two people can have the same name, even cousins. Number 3, in what universe is it okay to ask somebody to change a baby's name? Number 4, not the a-hole. Yeah, the asking to change the name is unbelievable. Like, hey, you might want to consider changing it. Like, yeah, I know, no big deal. Please change your baby's name. Like, no, and how dare you even ask? Yeah, I do also agree with the, like, you don't own a name. We have read some stories before where people had this name that they were really set on. Everybody in the family knew about it, and they were 100% gonna use that name. And in those stories, to get back at that person, somebody in the family would use that name. But I'm getting the sort of vibe here that OP didn't even know that they wanted to use this name. And also, unlike the other stories that we have read similar to this, you didn't hear them say that name and be like, oh, that's a cool name, I can use that. Like, no, you're using this name to honor your mum. It's not like you heard them say the name and then you were like, oh yeah, I'll use that. No, there's actual meaning and significance to the name. The considered changing the name part is so funny. Like, well, congratulations on your baby daughter. Consider changing your daughter's name, please. Saying it like it's no big deal. Nah, change it. That name is not okay. Like, it really does seem like OP had no idea that they wanted to use this name. The only time that, like, the dibs on the name thing is sort of bad is when somebody blatantly steals it. Like, it's really, really obvious. Like, it's an obscure sort of name. They didn't even know about it until the other person mentioned that they liked the name, and pretty much out of spite, they choose to steal the name. This is not like a situation like that. And the audacity of them to ruin this moment for you too, OP. Like, this is meant to be such a beautiful time for you, but apparently you're the heartless one. The only comment that OP has is this one. It's not like we picked the name randomly, it's after our mum. They don't even have kids yet, so how are we supposed to steal it? I get being disappointed, but expecting us to change our daughter's name is ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous and comical too. Like, yeah, your daughter's name is not Lena anymore. You need to change it. Yeah, the consensus here is a pretty resounding not the a-hole. Post number 2 is called, am I the a-hole for not telling a man that the research he was mansplaining to me was my own? That's amazing. That's already so satisfying and we haven't even read it yet. I don't normally post on Reddit, so please forgive me if I do it wrong. I, 33, female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago. For anybody wondering, the system in my country is different than in the US, so I I only studied for 5 years and am now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I've published some work here and there, but nothing too major, and nobody outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple of friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. Pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing that I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor, but we do work on the same topics. So naturally, we started talking about our work. At one point, we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions. So I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way, and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was what the author meant, and he said that he was because it was pretty simple actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me in details like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything because it was pretty funny to watch him say stuff that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on, but at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person that wrote the work that he'd quoted, and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry. He told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying that it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he'd embarrassed himself, and I left. I woke up this morning to text from my friend saying that I was wrong for causing drama and tension, and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong there. I mean, yeah, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not sure. Am I the a-hole? Edit, I forgot to make this clear and maybe a bit of misunderstanding, but both conversations happened only between the two of us. We were the only ones talking about our work, and our friends also weren't really there when I told him that I was the author. So it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing embarrassing for him here is that a woman seemed smarter than him, and I think that's what he had an issue with. Edit number 2, I've seen some comments claiming that this post is fake because that just doesn't happen. Or I've seen many other stories where the same thing does happen. That's not realistic. I'm not trying to justify anything because I don't really care, but I find it funny to see a lot of comments from women sharing similar stories, and then lots of comments from men saying that it doesn't happen. Okay, so before we read any comments or say anything else, I want to say how hilarious that is. Like, that is so damn funny. You're sitting there this entire time, this person is explaining something to you badly, completely wrong, and it's your work that they're trying to explain. Yeah, like the top comment says, not the a-hole, and kudos to you for being so calm when he mansplained your own research. Yeah, like, how did you not break out into laughter, OP? The fact that you sat there and you listened to it for ages is so wild. Question, did your friends also reprimand their friend for screaming at you? I mean, that wasn't exactly friendly either. Yeah, that's a good point too. The comment below that, not the a-hole, this is hilarious. Like, so unbelievably hilarious. Like, what are the chances of that? That's so funny. And no, you did not embarrass him, OP. He 100% embarrassed himself. Yeah, like this comment says, not the a-hole. How dare you let our friend behave like himself in public? You were supposed to help him cover up his ignorance. Maybe they're angry and feel foolish because of what their association with him says about them. Yeah, maybe, but either way, you're not the a-hole. He's in the wrong here, and like 3 different times too. Yeah, this comment too, not the a-hole. A decent person would just laugh and apologize, admitting that he really must have looked funny to you, and then respectfully ask to explain the points that he didn't get. No matter how late you revealed the truth, and even if you said that a little bit bitter, any sane, healthily confident person would apologize for misinterpreting your text. He could continue arguing, but how he reacted was not normal. You're okay here. Yeah, and also he wasn't just a little bit upset. He yelled at OP. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning, saying that I'd manipulated him to humiliate him. That's not a good reaction. Post number 3 is called, am I the a-hole for telling a woman where she can and can't give birth? Did not expect to read that. This is one of the stranger things that's ever happened to me. I, 26, bought the house that I'm living in 2019 from this lovely older couple. I thought, as I'm sure anybody who's been in the situation might think, that the signing was going to be the last time that I ever saw them or had anything to do with their family. I was wrong. Yesterday, I got a knock on my door. I opened it to find a young couple, probably my age, maybe a little bit younger. The woman was pregnant and seemed like she was gonna pop any day. I asked who they were and if I could help them. The woman replied that this home used to belong to her parents and that she was born in the house. Oh, okay, I see where this is going. I asked again what it was they wanted, since they didn't really tell me if they needed anything from me. She told me that her mother had also been born here, in the upstairs bedroom. For context, this is now my bedroom. She then asked me if I wouldn't mind letting her bring the stuff that was needed to give birth in the same spot as she and her mother were born. I said no, keeping in mind that A, this is not her or her parents' house anymore, anymore, and B, that the bedroom in question is my bedroom. Now, I thought that was as normal as a response as I could possibly give, but when I was telling my friends about it this afternoon, one of the girls in the friend group said that it was pretty cruel of me to tell a pregnant woman where she can and can't give birth. What are you talking about? I didn't think that what I'd said was all that strange, considering that I never met the couple before, and I don't exactly want a strange woman giving birth where I sleep, but my friend insists that I could have come to some sort of arrangement. So here I am asking you guys, am I the a-hole? No. Edit. So I'd like to add, my friend isn't an idiot. When we were having this conversation, we were, let's say, having a fun time with fun substances. When I asked her about it today, she genuinely thought that she'd imagined the conversation. Obviously, she thinks it's a horrible idea for liability and health reasons, aside from it being weird. And for those concerned that she's getting high as a nurse, she's off for the next 2 weeks. She's flying home for the holidays, so we were having a little get-together for those of us who were leaving for home. And for those saying that I made this up, I wish I had an imagination that good. I'd start writing if I did. I couldn't have predicted or come up with something like this in 100 years. Right, so you knew that your friend was high, but you were worried about it, I suppose. And then you talked to them after, and now they agree with you. Yeah, like this comment says, maybe afterwards she can raise her child in your house like her mother did with her. Not the a-hole. The comment below that says, I actually can't get over the fact that a woman knocked on your door and even asked. What a bizarre thing to do. Obviously not the a-hole. Your friend is very silly. It's pretty cruel to tell a pregnant woman where she can and can't give birth. Not if they're asking to give birth in your house. Yeah, no, you're not the a-hole, OP. That was definitely a confusing post. That's so wild to rock up to somebody's house and be like, hey, my mum and I were born in your bedroom. Do you mind if I have a baby in there? OP didn't say how they reacted when they said no, but I'm assuming they were like, okay, fair enough. But are you the a-hole for saying no to them? No. The top comment says, your friend's an idiot. You did not tell her where she can give birth. You told a complete stranger that she can't give birth in your house, in your bedroom. Not the a-hole. OP does have this comment. To be somewhat fair, my friend was somewhat high, but she brought up the point of maybe the woman wanting a safe, familiar environment. But what with the renovations that I've done, it's probably not super familiar anymore. The only reason that I'm posting here is because said friend is the only one of us who has any regular interactions with pregnant people. She's a nurse at a nearby hospital, so maybe she had insight that I didn't. I like this comment. The twist in the tale is that the woman's grandmother also begged a random stranger to let her give birth in the upstairs bedroom of your house. Yeah, like they never lived there. It was just the house that everybody gave birth in. That's hilarious. Post number 4 is called, am I the a-hole for going mad at my sister-in-law after she served me dessert with nuts knowing that I'm allergic? So this happened a few days ago and I'm still fuming. I, 32 female, have a nut allergy. It's not the kind that'll send me to the hospital, but it's bad enough to get severe stomach cramps and nausea and sometimes even hives. My sister-in-law Emma knows this because I've told her multiple times over the years. To be honest, Emma and I don't get along that well. She's always been a bit difficult. She has this habit of making little digs at me. I've always felt like she doesn't really like me, but for the sake of keeping the peace, I try to let it go. She invited us all over for dinner at her place, me, my other brother, and some other family members. I went because I didn't want to cause any drama, and I figured that it'd just be a few hours of smiling and nodding. The dinner itself was fine, but then Emma brought out dessert. It was this fancy chocolate tart thing, and everybody was raving about how good it looked. Now, I am always careful about dessert, so I asked her, hey, just checking, there's no nuts in this, right? She looked me straight in the eye, smiled and said, no, you're good, no nuts. So I ate it. About 10 minutes later, my stomach started cramping like crazy. It was that familiar feeling and I knew right away that something was off. I asked her again, are you absolutely sure that there's no nuts in this? And she kind of smirked and said, oh, well, it does have a little almond paste, but it's such a tiny amount that I didn't think it would matter. I was so livid. Almonds are nuts. She knows that I'm allergic, and the fact that she said it so casually, like it was no big deal, made it even worse. I had to leave her house early because I felt so awful and I spent the rest of the night curled up in pain. The next day, I called her to confront her about it. I told her that what she did was irresponsible and flat out dangerous. Her response? She laughed. Actually laughed and said, you're being so dramatic. It's not like you're deathly allergic. I didn't think it would bother you. And at that point, I lost it. I told her that if she couldn't respect my health, then I wouldn't be eating at her house anymore. Now my brother's mad at me saying that I embarrassed Emma and made a huge deal out of nothing. Okay, so that's completely wrong. He thinks I'm overreacting and that she just made an innocent mistake. But here's the thing, I don't think it was a mistake. I feel like she did it on purpose. She's always been passive aggressive with me me, and it feels like another way to get under my skin. Now, my family's divided. Yeah, of course they are. Some think I'm completely justified, while others think I should just let it go and move on. AKA, you should keep the peace, which you definitely should not do. So, am I the a-hole for losing it at my sister-in-law for serving me a dessert that had nuts, knowing that I'm allergic? Or am I being too sensitive? No, you're not the a-hole. Of course you're not the a-hole. And by the sounds of it, she did it on purpose. I can't believe that she laughed at you after. Emma's a colossal a-hole. A huge a-hole. This comment says, number 1, it was under no circumstances a mistake. That was 100% deliberate. Yeah, she even said, oh, I didn't think it would do anything or whatever. She knew that there was some amount of nuts in there, and she was probably hoping that something would happen. Number 2, while it may not currently be a life-threatening allergy, there are some allergies that have worse reactions for each exposure. In other words, maybe this time you're mainly fine, but next time you might not be. Not the a-hole. And the brother's a massive a-hole here too. My brother's now mad at me saying that I embarrassed Emma and I made a huge deal out of nothing. He thinks I'm overreacting and that she just made an innocent mistake. Bro, you've got no idea. Come on. This comment says, your brother and his wife and any other family members that are divided on this are morons. Allergies change, and someday you could have a deathly allergic reaction. My sister had no allergies until she was in her 30s, and now she can't eat certain fruit because her throat will close up. I'd cut those people off completely. And I'd tell your brother that he's an idiot. Also, knowingly serving somebody a food that they're allergic to is some kind of assault. Yeah, it was never an innocent mistake. It was not innocent, and it also wasn't a mistake. They knew that it was in there, and I'm pretty sure they wanted this to happen. Post number 5 is called, am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter's grandparents take her this Christmas? I, 30 female, am the single mother of Clara, 2 female. My pregnancy wasn't planned. I had a no strings attached relationship with their father Jack, 30s male, for 7 months when I became pregnant unexpectedly. He lived in a different state but would visit my city monthly for business reasons, and we hit it off after meeting in a bar. We thought about our options regarding the pregnancy, but I decided to keep the baby. Jack wanted to be a part of her life, so we planned to raise the baby together but not as a couple, just co-parents. Unfortunately, Jack passed away during my pregnancy. Jack's parents, Linda and James, knew that I was pregnant when he passed. We already had done a prenatal paternity test at the time. We were all devastated by his passing, but of course his parents were destroyed by it. Clara is their first and only grandkid, and she became their beacon of light in a dark time, as they say. They have 2 other daughters, Ruth, 37 female, and Lily, 27 female, but they don't have any children. Ruth is trying to conceive for a long time with her husband, and Lily is child-free and single. Jack's whole family lives in another state, with the exception of Lily that lives abroad. They have a family business, so their life is there, while I have my family and my career in my current city, where I live with Clara. Since Clara was born, we have an agreement. Nothing legal, but we all agreed with visitations for her grandparents and aunts. They usually visit Clara twice a month. James and Linda are the ones that visit the most, but Ruth also does show up sometimes. I really appreciate their presence in her life. Since the beginning, a point of content on our relationship was traveling with Clara to their state. They've got a big property that's been in their family for over 100 years, and they've got a family business too. In their small town, they're treated as almost royalty, and they wanted Clara to experience that. I understand that it's good for my daughter to know her heritage, but I always put my foot down on the idea of them traveling with or without me. I've already visited their hometown 3 times with Clara since she was born, but this isn't enough apparently. Our relationship wasn't perfect. I had some issues with Linda meddling way too much on my parenting, but we were civil until I started my current relationship. I've been dating Ted, 34 male, for almost a year, and things are tense with James and Linda. Ted and I don't live together, and he has a daughter Marie, 4 female, that lives with him. Linda has expressed disapproval to his constant presence in my house, which is not true. Both of us work a lot, and between our kids and our other priorities, we probably see each other 3 or 4 times a week, to Marie having playdates and sleepovers with Clara, and the list goes on and on. The woman will find a way to comment something even about Ted's car parked in front of my house. Things escalated when 2 weeks ago I emailed Linda, James and Ruth an invite for Christmas Eve. Ted and I are going to have a get together with our families and our close friends. I decided to invite Clara's grandparents so they can spend Christmas Eve with her, but I also let them know that if they prefer, they can take her for lunch on Christmas Day. The next day, Linda texted me that they already had plans to take Clara to their home on Christmas. I said that was not happening. I didn't hear anything from her for about 2 days. Linda called me stating that she gave me 2 days to cool off and be reasonable, and she said they've got rights over Clara and they've waited too much to take her home for Christmas, and now she's bigger and can travel without me. I said that this was never discussed, and I would not let them travel with my daughter without them even discussing discussing it with me beforehand. Linda said this was their discussion before the travel. I laughed on the call and I said that she was delusional. Things escalated pretty quick after that. I was accused of trying to replace Jack in Clara's life. I also said some things that were a little bit cruel about Jack never even meeting Clara. After Linda hung up on me, James called me and tried to reason with me. He let it slip that they bought Clara's plane ticket 2 months ago without even asking me first. I said that there's no way that I'd let them walk all over me. James then lost his temper and demanded that I should apologize to Linda or we'll go to court over this. I did not back down and I said they were choosing to fight over this, not me. Well, after some time of silence from them, I got served court papers. They're suing me over custody of Clara and are stating that I'm unfit as a mother. I've already got a lawyer who I consulted before our fight over the phone. She told me yesterday that they've got almost zero chance of getting any custody. The most they can do is get visitation. But still, I am worried about this becoming a legal battle. People in my life are divided. Part of them think I did nothing wrong by putting up boundaries, and others think that it's petty of me to start a fight with my daughter's grandparents when I could let them travel with her for Christmas when I know they're good grandparents and that they will take care of her. Am I the a-hole? Some clarifications are needed. Number 1, how Linda and James know details about my life. How they know about Ted's car and Marie's play dates. They live in another state, but they visit pretty often. At least twice a month they come to see Clara, and they come to my house to pick her up and to leave her after their outings. This is how Linda realized that Ted's car was out the front of my driveway, since I live in a gated community and it's forbidden this type of parking unless it's the homeowner's car. The first time she saw his car, Linda asked me if I would call the security to tow the car, and I said no because it was Ted's car. They also used to FaceTime Clara 3 times a week. That's how they learnt about some of her play dates and sleepovers with Marie. They called when Marie was still at the house with Clara and saw her. Number 2, they expected my toddler to travel alone on a plane? No. I think I couldn't explain it well enough. James said that they would travel to my city, take Clara with them on the plane to their state, and after a week they'd bring her back. She was never supposed to travel alone for what they were planning. Do I believe they were going to kidnap my daughter? I don't know. I think it is possible. Some comments made me paranoid, to be honest. James said that they bought her tickets back, but I don't think I should trust him without any proof. Their words mean nothing to me now. Do I still have contact with them? No. My lawyer advised me to cut all visits and video calls with Clara and only communicate with my daughter's grandparents through our lawyers. They're not blocked on my phone, but I will not receive any call from them. If they text me or email me, I'll have it sent to my lawyer. Trust me, today was all about making an FU binder and making sure that I document every little thing. Thank you a lot for the advice, guys. And don't worry much, Clara and I live in a very secure community. There are cameras and security. Nobody is going to take her from me. Yeah, you're so not the a-hole. I'm sure you can see how cute Nez looks at the moment. I'm sorry, I needed to mention that. But yeah, of course not the a-hole. The top comment says absolutely not the a-hole. Clara's your child. The idea of a 2-year-old traveling without her mother is asinine. You were very kind to encourage their relationship with your daughter. However, they're taking things too far. They will not get custody. Do not allow them any contact with Clara. They want custody and they may just take her. They're clear in what they want. Any further communication with them will be twisted and used against you. Congratulations on your new relationship. You deserve some happiness and peace. Yeah, you do, OP. And then you have these family members that are ruining it. I can't believe they bought the plane tickets and everything without even asking. This comment says, if I were you, I'd get the most aggressive, underhanded lawyer that I could find so they can drag their name through the mud. You cannot trust your child with them. They do not respect you. They're selfish and unreasonable bullies. Fight fire with fire, not the a-hole. Yeah, and also like this one says, seems a bit kidnappy to me. This comment says, not the a-hole. This is your child. They've got no right to demand anything. And you were kind enough to include them in your life at all. Do you have security systems at your house? I'd be worried about them showing up. Yeah, for sure. OP did say in the post that it is really secure. But yeah, the audacity of James and Linda, they are completely in the wrong. Yeah, like the audacity of them to feel like they even get to demand stuff. And doing it without even asking you first. Planning stuff and buying the tickets without even asking. That sort of stuff is not okay, and it's never gonna be okay. Yeah, not the a-hole, OP. I can't believe the goal of these people. Like this comment says, lawyer up and lawyer up well. Yeah, I don't really understand what their plan is either, but do they really even have a leg to stand on? By the sounds of it, everything's gonna be okay, OP. But yeah, you're so not the a-hole. Story number 6 that we're going to read is on the entitled people subreddit. I felt like some entitled people. I found one at the grocery store, but the cashier bit back. So, I'm a vendor that services a lot of grocery stores, but until today, I hadn't really come across a good one. At a grocery store in the morning, fairly slow, 1 lane's open plus 4 self-checkout lines. Middle-aged couple comes up huffing and puffing that there's somebody in the line in front of them that's loading things onto the belt, and how it's ridiculous that there aren't more lines open. Cashier says that they can use the self-checkout. Husband says that he shouldn't have to do her job for her. Apparently 10 seconds is all it can take, because he just mutters fine and then walks over to the self-checkout. First item he scans at self-checkout needs cashier approval, so the poor girl running the area comes over to fix it, and he lays into her about how terrible the service is and how offended he is that he has to wait. While the cashier is trying to fix the item scanner, the customer looks over and sees the cashier manager showing another employee how to do something at the customer service desk. Cue a nice entitled "excuse me" while looking at her. She's got no idea what's going on, so asks how she can help. He berates her for having a personal conversation, and she needs to open a lane for him right now since she's on the clock, and he has places to be that are far more important than her conversation. She gives the biggest eye roll I've ever seen and says, "Okay, go to register 2, I'll be there in a second." He drags his wife to register number 2 and starts unloading groceries. Cashier manager gets there and starts ringing him up. He asked her something, but I didn't hear what, and she said, "Sorry, I can't go check that. That'll take time and you've got places to be." That apparently broke his brain because he just looked at his wife and said, "You handle this," and then walked out of the store. And then the wife has the audacity to look at the cashier and say, "Can I break this into multiple transactions?" Cashier looked at her and said, "Sorry, I've got places to be. And I opened to try to help you out, so you can get 1 transaction with me, or you're welcome to go back into the other line that's open." The wife just hung her head and said, "Just check me out." I saw the husband talking to the manager in the entryway, so I made sure to grab him on his way and tell him that the cashiers did everything right, and that this guy was just a jerk. Manager just said, "Yeah, I could tell 3 words into the conversation. He just didn't want to be happy." Some people. Yeah, that's so infuriating, and that's such a good way of putting it too. Some people just don't want to be happy. And I love the fact that the cashier threw it back at them. No, you're so important and you're so much better than all of us here. I wouldn't dare take up any of your time, Your Highness. I love the entitled people stories. They're always so satisfying to read. The absolute nerve of some people. Okay, post number 7 is called "Am I the a-hole for keeping food from my wife?" My wife loves fruit. She eats a lot of it, and I, as the person who buys most of the groceries, try to keep the place constantly stocked. Apples, peaches, figs, plums, whatever's in season. It's on our counter. Right now, it's persimmon season. Both of us like very different types. She likes foryou and she likes them firm. I like any kind, but mainly her chia, and I like them the texture of pudding. So I leave mine to ripen, which can take days to weeks sometimes. Neither of us likes the other style much. This week, we got a bunch of each at the farmer's market. I left mine in a basket in the corner of the kitchen. She ate all of hers by midweek, and I got her some more at the market, and she ate those too. I just started eating mine today, and I offered her a bite. She said, "No, I'll get my own." And I said, "No, wait, those are mine. I've been saving them, and you know how much effort it takes to get them the way I like it. And you don't even like them that way." She got upset at this and said that this has been my thing our whole marriage. I designate food as mine. All food should be anybody's to eat if that person wants it at that moment, she says. Yeah, but not if you've already eaten all of the other ones. And OP hasn't had any. I personally disagree with this, and I live my life leaving her what's hers, whether it's half of the leftovers or half a piece of cake or whatever. I don't just eat things, I consider her, and I do my best to make sure that she has what she likes around. And if I do accidentally eat the entirety of something that she wanted, I hear about it, believe me. Am I the a-hole for keeping some fruit to myself? No. Yeah, like the top comment says, it sounds like she only wants some of yours after she's had 2 batches of hers. That doesn't sound very equitable. Not the a-hole. Your wife needs to let you have what you have set aside for yourself. She's had plenty of her own. Yeah, and like this comment says too, not the a-hole. If my husband buys something specifically for himself and asks me not to touch it, I don't, because I'm not a selfish little gremlin. This comment says not the a-hole. It's easy to say that when you're the only one getting to enjoy the fruit. I've got a 12-year-old and she would routinely eat all of something until I talk to her. Now she stops when there's 2, so that her dad and I have a chance to eat at least one of them. How is it that my 12-year-old understands this concept more than your wife? Yeah, that's so childish. You haven't even had any of the fruit. No, you're so not in the wrong, OP. The next one that we're going to read is called, Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband after he cheated with my sister, cutting off my mum for supporting them, and then moving on with my life? What an unbelievable title. This has been the most traumatic year of my life, and I'm wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I'm justified in my choices. I, female 35, was married to my husband, male 42, for 8 years. We've got 2 kids together, a son 9 and a daughter 7. I thought our life was stable and happy until everything unraveled 7 months ago. I found out that my husband was cheating on me with my younger sister, 24. I didn't discover it through subtle clues or intuition. My son overheard an inappropriate conversation between the two of them at a family gathering and then came to me confused and upset. When I confronted my husband, he denied it at first, but then eventually admitted to the affair. I was utterly shattered, but what made it even worse was that my mum sided with my husband and sister. She defended their action, saying, Your sister is young and doesn't know any better, and your husband must have felt neglected to fall for somebody else. OP, I've got no doubt that your mum's a cheater. Then she had the audacity to suggest that I forgive them and keep the family together for the kids. I was so stunned and disgusted. Yeah, like, is that what your mum did? My dad, on the other hand, was furious. He called out my mum's behavior, told her that she was enabling betrayal, and eventually filed for divorce from her because he couldn't tolerate her lack of morals. Oh my god, that's unbelievable. Yeah, your mum's probably a cheater, and your dad's divorcing your mum because of her lack of morals. I did not see that coming. He's been one of my few sources of support in all of this. I filed for divorce immediately, and I cut off my mum and my sister completely. You and your dad have left your morally questionable mum and sister. That is so wild. Good job, OP. My kids have been struggling with the fallout. My son is especially angry and has told me that he doesn't want anything to do with his dad. My daughter is quieter but has been acting out in small ways. We've been going to therapy together, and I've been doing everything I can to help them navigate this while also trying to heal myself. Over the past few months, I've started putting my life back together. I focused on my kids, leaned on my dad and close friends for support, and I've even started dating somebody new, female 36. She's been incredible and kind and understanding and supportive. She's great with my kids and they've grown to love her, which makes me feel like I can finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. But the chaos is not over. My sister's relationship with my ex-husband has completely fallen apart. Shocking, right? Now she's blaming my mum, saying that she encouraged the whole thing. Wow. My mum, meanwhile, is blowing up my phone, accusing me of tearing the family apart by refusing to forgive them. Yeah, that's not what's tearing the family apart. She says that my new relationship is a slap in the face to our family and claims that I'm being selfish because I'm not letting her or my sister back into my life. To top it off, my ex-husband's been reaching out, begging for forgiveness and asking for a second chance. He's telling me that it was all a mistake and that he misses me and the kids. My son and daughter both want nothing to do with him, but I'm conflicted about how much of a relationship, if any, they should have with their father. My dad and my friends say that I'm doing the right thing by cutting out toxic people and focusing on rebuilding my life. Yeah, but they're all still messaging you, OP, block them. But the guilt tripping from my mum and sister is starting to wear me down. I'm wondering if I'm being too harsh. Should I try to reconcile with my mum and sister for the sake of family? Should I give my ex more of a chance to be involved for the sake of the kids? Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband and cutting off my mum and sister and moving forward with my life and my new relationship? I'm pretty sure that you know that you're not the a-hole, OP. Your husband cheated with your sister. Your mum was supportive of that. Of course you're not in the wrong for cutting them off. And of course you're not the a-hole for divorcing your husband. That was the only choice here. Edit, I have changed my number and I'm currently moving. No, I don't speak to any of my ex's husband's family, and apparently the snitch was my aunt and her husband. Are we shocked? So I'm officially not speaking to them. And for the people complaining about the fact that my kids know my girlfriend, so what? My children adore her. Also, for the custody, it's 60-40, meaning that I can choose which schedule the kids can have with their father, since I'm the primary. No, I'm not forcing my kids to not speak to their dad. They've told me numerous times that they don't like going to my ex-husband's house, and I respect that. I'm currently going for full custody. For the people telling me to get a restraining order, my lawyer said that they haven't done anything to endanger my children, and so I legally can't get one. My dad also has some suspicions that my mum cheated on him. Yeah, definitely. With how she was defending the affair. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm so impressed with your dad for divorcing her, OP. Like, whoa, you're messed up morally. I am out of here. Slight update number 1. Wow, there are a lot of homophobes in the replies. I want to first say thank you to all of the kind messages and the kind replies. Now for the update. The people that suggested that my mum may have cheated or had an affair were correct. Apparently my mum cheated on my dad early in the relationship, but said that she stopped the affair when my dad found out. Spoiler, she didn't. Revolting. We aren't exactly sure if my sister is my father's child, and quite frankly, we hope that she isn't. As for my ex-husband, yeah, he is allowed to visit his children. He just refuses to see them because my kids hate being around him, not because I'm restricting it as people are claiming. I've got 60-40 custody, and the judge granted me full permission to set a schedule on when my kids see their father father, as long as he's not completely out of their life. It also might help that the affair he had with my sister, nobody knows how long it went on for, but my son has spoken to me, which is hard for him, and said that he's always seen his daddy talking to my sister, so it's definitely going on since she was early 20s. My children are completely fine. They're currently in therapy for this and other stuff. No schoolwork has been affected, and my girlfriend certainly isn't affecting them. Matter of fact, they love her in the few times that she's here. For those curious, my son is turning 10 soon, and he heard more than one of these conversations. He only told me about this one because he understood what they were saying, which is traumatizing for a child to listen to. A massive FU to the homophobes. My children adore my partner. No, she isn't like a second parent to them. She also loves them as well, and is in no way trying to take a fatherly role in their life. And for the people claiming that this is AI, Lord, I wish it was. I'm flattered that you think my life is fake. I wish it was, but sadly it isn't. That is so wild, the entire situation. OP does have this comment. Just for the record, no, I'm not in contact with my mum or sister. Somebody on my mum's side has apparently been feeding them stuff about my life, including my phone number. Right, okay, that makes sense. My kids are currently in control of what they want to do. As of now, they've refused to have any contact with their father. Yeah, because I was thinking, why haven't you blocked them? But that definitely makes a lot of sense. OP also has this comment. My parents were already thinking of getting a divorce and were in the process of getting one. This whole drama with my ex-husband was the final straw for my dad to go through with the divorce, and my divorce got finalized pretty quick because of the cheating. Yeah, all the stuff with the dad too, and finding out that your mum is a cheater. That is so disgusting. And whenever somebody is standing up for somebody who's a cheater, it's such a red flag. And in this case, yeah, she was a cheater herself. But no, you're not the a-hole even a little bit. I can't believe this situation. Like this comment says, not the a-hole. You're not wrong for divorcing your husband or cutting off your mum and sister after their betrayal. Their lack of support and enabling behavior makes them toxic. You're focusing on rebuilding your life and protecting your children, which is completely justified. You're not being harsh. You're prioritizing your well-being. Yeah, you're definitely not being too harsh, OP. You're not overreacting. You handled this super well, and so did your dad. I can't believe that. Your sister betrayed you, your husband betrayed you, and also your mum too. I'm sorry that you're surrounded by awful people, OP, but yeah, so not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my boyfriend after he brought me to a swinger party and tried to share me with another guy? What? I, 32 female, have been with my boyfriend. Let's call him Alex, 33 male, for about a year. For the most part, things have been really good. He's funny, sweet, and we've always seemed to be on the same page about what we want in a relationship. We've talked about fantasies a few times, but nothing too crazy. Only light-hearted, fun conversations. Or at least I thought that's all there were. Last weekend, Alex told me that he had a special date night planned for us. He was being all secretive about it, but I thought it was something romantic like dinner at a fancy restaurant, or maybe a surprise weekend trip. I got all dressed up, feeling all excited, and he drove us to this big, gorgeous house. At first I thought it was a party with some of his friends, but as soon as we walked in, the vibe was weird. There were couples everywhere dressed pretty provocatively. People were being very flirty, even with strangers. It wasn't long before I realized what was going on. We were at a swinger party. I was completely caught off guard. I pulled Alex aside and I asked him what this was, and he just smiled and said, I thought this would be fun for us. He acted like he was giving me the best gift in the world, but I was just standing there in shock. Then he casually told me that he'd already talked to another couple and they were interested in us, specifically me. What? I told him immediately that I wasn't comfortable and I didn't want to be there. Instead of apologizing or understanding, he acted like I was the problem. He kept on saying that I was overreacting and that I should at least try to have an open mind. Nah, dude. He even said that I'd probably end up liking it if I gave it a chance. This is not something you do without discussing it first. I couldn't believe it. I felt completely disrespected and blindsided. Yeah, because you were. I told him I'm not doing this and that I was leaving. He had the audacity to tell me that I was embarrassing him and making him look bad in front of the other guests. At that point, I didn't even care. I grabbed my bag and I left. Here's the kicker. He didn't leave with me. He stayed at the party. OP, please tell me that you dumped him. When he came home the next morning, he tried to play it off like I was in the wrong. He said that I was being too rigid and accused me of not being adventurous enough. I told him this wasn't about being adventurous. It was about trust and respect. He basically forced me into a situation that I didn't agree to, and now I feel like I can't trust him anymore. He's been apologizing nonstop for the past few days, saying that he misread our conversations about fantasies and didn't mean to upset me. Some of my friends think I'm overreacting and should give him another chance because he just made a mistake, but others agree that what he did was a huge violation. Yeah, it was. I don't know if I can get past this. Yeah, you don't have to, OP. I feel like he completely disregarded my feelings, and I can't stop thinking about the fact that he stayed stayed at the party after I left. Yeah, that's the real kicker here, OP. He didn't even go home with you. Am I the a-hole for wanting to end things over this? Absolutely not. The top comment says, seriously, you even have to ask this question? Break up and don't feel guilty about it. And OP said, yeah, by the look of it, it's the only option that I've got is breaking up with him. Yeah, for sure. And also, like this comment says, so he spent the night? Yeah, that sounds like cheating to me. Yeah, like what do you think he was doing when he didn't come home with you? This guy is terrible. And to not even have a conversation about this beforehand. Like this is not something that you do unless you both agree to it, of course. Oh, that's so ridiculous. No, you're not in the wrong. And I feel like you pretty much have to break up with him. I can't believe the stuff that we read. The next one that we're going to read is called, Am I the a-hole for kicking my parents out of my wedding after they tried to bring my estranged brother? I, 29 male, recently married the love of my life, 27 female. The wedding was everything that we dreamed of, except for one major issue caused by my parents. For context, I'm estranged from my older brother Luke, 35 male. He bullied me relentlessly during my childhood, verbally, emotionally, and even physically. My parents have always downplayed it, brushing it off as normal sibling stuff, but it wasn't. Luke made my life hell for years, and when I finally went no contact with him 5 years ago, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. My parents, however, have never accepted my choice. They constantly try to guilt me into reconciling, saying that family is everything, and Luke has changed. I've stood firm though, because I know letting him back into my life would only bring pain. When my fiance and I were planning our wedding, I made it clear to my parents that Luke was not invited. I even told them that if they tried to bring him, they'd be asked to leave. They reluctantly agreed, or so I thought. The day of the wedding, as we're greeting guests before the ceremony, I see my parents walk in with Luke. My heart sank. I immediately pulled them aside and asked them what the hell they were doing. My mum said they couldn't leave him out because he's still family, and thought once I saw him, I'd get over it. Oh my God. You're about to be no contact with your parents too. I was furious. I told them they had two options. Either they leave and they take Luke, or they leave without him, but he was not staying. My dad started arguing, saying that I was being dramatic and ruining my own wedding. Wow, the audacity. While my mum started crying about how I was tearing the family apart. I stood my ground and I told them to leave. In the end, they stormed out and they took Luke, and neither of them stayed for the ceremony. The rest of the day was amazing, but now the fallout has begun. My parents have been blowing up my phone and accusing me of humiliating them in front of the family. Extended relatives are divided. Some say that I did the right thing, while others think that I overreacted and should have just kept the peace for one day. No. Even a couple of my friends said that I could have handled it more quietly by letting him stay but ignoring him. No, friends. My wife is 100% on my side, but I can't help feeling conflicted. Am I the a-hole for standing my ground and kicking my parents out of my wedding? Edit, for more context, Luke hasn't even apologized or even acknowledged the pain that he caused me. My parents' idea of reconciliation is pretending the past never happened. Yeah, that's not surprising. Also, my wife and I paid for the wedding ourselves. My parents had no financial stake in it. And for those of you talking about blocking them, I don't think I'm able to do that. They're my parents. Oh, yeah, but I think you should. I really think you should. Like, the absolute disrespect here, OP, is wild. Oh, yeah, we're not gonna bring Luke. What do? They bring Luke. God, they suck. I can't believe they said that you humiliated them in front of family. They humiliated themselves. They are so awful, OP. And so what? Luke bullied you your whole childhood, and now your parents are bullies to you too, OP. The top comment says, not the a-hole blowing up your phone. There's a button for that. Block them. Yeah, you're not the a-hole at all here, OP. Your parents are awful. This comment says, and for those of you talking about blocking them, I don't think I'm able to do that. They're my parents. OP, I'm going to remind you that you kicked your parents out of your wedding. Blocking them is just the icing on the cake. Stop bending over and taking their vitriol. This comment says your parents have a favorite child and it's not you, not the a-hole. This comment says not the a-hole. Well, we know where your brother learnt his bullying ways from your parents. Sorry that you had to put up with this all of your life. Good on you for standing up to them, and wonderful that your wife supports you. Ignore the relatives that disagree. You don't need to explain to them. Don't let them bring negativity into your new marriage. Congratulations. Yes, so not the a-hole, OP, and that's enough for today. That was an adventure of an episode, and I hope you guys had a good time today. Let me know down below in the comment section what you thought. As always, I do have a couple of cute wholesome memes to show you. Of course, I'd still love you if you were a worm. This could be us. That's so cute, and the little hat that they're wearing. Like, would you love me if I was a worm? Yes, 100%. We'd be the cutest worms ever. By the way, I'd share my fries with you. Look at that little kitty cat. Such a beautiful little cat. Kittens are built so funny. like the big bellies and the little arms and the tiny little ears. I'm describing Nez. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time today. If you did, make sure you subscribe if you want to. And the comment of the day goes to Mordecai. My puppy still gets excited when she sees your cats and is still trying to give them her toys so they can play together. Now she barks when she hears the meows like she's joining in. That is so unbelievably cute. Mordecai, thank you for sharing that in the comment section. And make sure you say hello to your puppy for me. That's so cute. And trying to give them her toys so they can play together. That is so beautiful. That made me so happy reading that. The cats have got friends all over the world. That is so awesome. Okay, I'm out of here. Make sure you look after yourself, everybody, and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day or every other day. Bye!